Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to continue the functions of hypothalamus. We have done some of the functions of hypothalamus in the last video, and in this video, we are going to finish it by completing the regulation of reproduction, role in emotional behavior, role in regulation of body temperature, and role of hypothalamus in regulation of water balance. So let's get started. So starting with the role of hypothalamus in regulation of reproduction, there are certain functions what hypothalamus performs. One of it is it keeps the gonads inhibited till the physical growth is complete. That means the gonads which are going to produce the hormones or the initiation of the reproductive cycle is inhibited by the hypothalamus till the physical growth is complete or till the puberty is achieved. There is inhibition of those gonadal functions by hypothalamus. Second is, in case of females, the cyclical surge of gonadotropin is governed or is regulated by hypothalamus, which is required for the ovulation. So these are the two important functions hypothalamus performs. First thing is it inhibits the gonads or the gonadal function, the cyclical gonadal function, reproductive function of the gonads until and unless the physical growth is complete. And the second function is it helps in cyclical, in case of females, cyclical surge of gonadotropins, which is required for ovulation. For performing those reproductive functions, there is a pathway identified in hypothalamus, that is the amygdala, stria terminalis, preoptic area, and the tuberal region. This pathway, as you can see here, the amygdala, then stria terminalis, hypothalamus, and especially the preoptic area and the tuberal area. Preoptic region and the tuberal region are involved in the regulation of reproduction by the hypothalamus. Now coming to the second function, role in emotional behavior. As we have mentioned before, that limbic system is the one which is mainly responsible for the emotional aspect of our behavior. Hypothalamus is a part of limbic system, and thus hypothalamus play an important role in emotional behavior of an individual. How does hypothalamus play that role? That there are certain centers which are present inside the hypothalamus. First, if we see, there is the reward center. That means if some stimulus is there which is accompanied by some kind of pleasure, it will activate the reward center, which is present in the lateral and ventromedial nucleus. So a happy sensation or rewarding sensation will activate the lateral and ventromedial nucleus of the hypothalamus, and that is the reward center of the hypothalamus. Whereas certain painful stimulus or the other sensory stimulus which are unpleasant, they will activate the punishment center. They will stimulate the punishment center, that is the medial hypothalamus, especially the periventricular zone. So if we see in the diagram here, the paraventricular nucleus here, the paraventricular nucleus is the punishment center, and the ventromedial nucleus is the reward center in the hypothalamus. Whenever the sensation, the peripheral sensory sensation comes to the thalamus conveys it to the hypothalamus, and thus there occurs an association of those stimulation with the reward or punishment feeling in our hypothalamus. And because of that association, it is easy to sort out, segregate those sensation and keep in the memory. As the sensation perceives, the reward or the punishment aspect of the sensation increases, and thus the memory of that sensation or the memory of that stimulus is stored. Whereas if any stimulation or if any sensation which is not associated with reward or punishment, it is easily forgotten. So for the storage of memory, for the segregation of those stimulus and to be stored in the memory, it is very helpful if it is associated with the reward or the punishment aspect of emotion in the hypothalamus. So basically, reward and punishment centers constitute one of the most important of all controllers of our bodily activities, our drives, our aversions and our motivations, because of the seeking behavior. Like a person who gets, because of one sensation, he gets a reward feeling, he tries to get that sensation again and again. If any sensation is associated with painful or punishment emotional component, then that kind of sensation is tried to be avoided. So that is how the emotional behavior of our limbic cortex or limbic system, which is responsible for emotional behavior, hypothalamus, plays an important role with the help of reward and punishment center. Coming to the rage and sham rage. What is rage? It is an angry kind of response with so many physical and autonomic outputs. What happens is, when there is repetitive stimulation of punishment center, when there is repetitive stimulation of paraventricular zone punishment center, it causes a rage kind of response. There is one more term called sham rage. What is sham rage is, the punishment, the reward and the punishment centers are also connected to the cortex, the cerebral cortex, and this cerebral cortex keep them in balance, and it is how it, in the normal individual, it is kept under control. But if the connection between cortex and the hypothalamus, the reward and punishment center, is lost, if the connection between cortex and the punishment and reward center is lost, what is going to happen is, even a mild stimulation, even a normal stimulation will produce a rage kind of response, that is called sham rage. So usually when so much of punishment is given, the punishment center is stimulated constantly, or excessive stimulation of punishment, that causes rage. But in case of sham rage, even a normal stimulus, even a simple pleasant stimulus can also initiate the rage response, which is called as sham rage. So I have a video for you in which you can see here, there is in this cat, there is stimulation of hypothalamus, the punishment center, and you can see the response when it is stimulated. So that is a rage behavior because of the stimulation, excessive stimulation, electrical stimulation of the punishment center in the experimental animal. Now coming to the role of hypothalamus in regulation of body temperature. So when we see, again in case of body temperature also, it is the two centers. One is heat loss center, which is anterior hypothalamus, especially the preoptic, medial and lateral preoptic nucleus are the heat loss center. That means their stimulation will cause vasodilation and excessive sweating, which causes loss of heat from the body. Whereas the other center there is heat gain center, which is produced in the posterior aspect, which is located in the posterior aspect of hypothalamus, which produces heat gain centers, that is shivering. It may cause shivering, vasoconstriction, to inhibit the blood flow to the skin. So we have already studied the mechanism of heat loss and heat gain in our video lecture of heat regulation, body temperature regulation. This is the role of hypothalamus, that is, with the help of anterior hypothalamus, especially the preoptic, when it is stimulated, heat loss is activated, the mechanisms of heat loss is activated, whereas the heat gain is activated by the stimulation of posterior hypothalamus. These centers senses the temperature of the blood in the circulation reaching to them. So they are sensitive to the temperature. So because of that, if there is increase in the blood temperature, the core temperature, the heat loss center will activate, or if there is decrease in the core temperature, heat gain center will activate and thus perform the regulation of body temperature. Now coming to the last is the role in regulation of water balance. So this is also done by two centers, both acting synergistically. So there is thirst center which is located laterally in the hypothalamus, lateral nucleus, and osmoreceptors which are present in the supraoptic nucleus. So the thirst center and osmoreceptors act differently. Thirst center is the one which creates a strong desire to take fluid intake or to drink water, whereas osmoreceptors acts through vasopressin and it acts in the kidney, and the action of the ADH vasopressin is done in the distal tubule and the water is reabsorbed and thus the water is preserved inside the body. So these are the two different mechanisms. Let us see how does they activate. So the basic initiation stimulus is decrease in body water. Whenever there is decrease in the body water, plasma become hypertonic, and the thirst center which is present laterally in the hypothalamus is a osmoreceptor, as well as the supraoptic nucleus is also an osmoreceptor. So what does they do? They sense the osmolarity of the plasma. If it is increased or it has become hypertonic, what is going to happen is in thirst center it will get activated and it will cause ingestion of water, which will then cause the normal restoration of body water. In case of thirst center, just the ingestion of water is sufficient to inhibit the thirst center. When you would have noticed that even before the water has been absorbed from your GI tract, immediately after drinking water you feel relieved of the thirst. Why or how it is possible is not because by the change of plasma hypertonicity, it is because the receptors which are present in the oropharynx, in the esophagus, are then goes to the thirst center and inhibits the thirst center. So as soon as you take the water, those receptors which are present in the oropharynx and the pharynx and esophagus, they go and stimulate, they go and inhibit the thirst center, and thus the thirst is quenched immediately drinking after water. Immediately after drinking water, even though the plasma hypertonicity has not been back to normal. So that is how the water ingestion itself can inhibit the thirst. Coming to the osmoreceptors, whenever there is plasma hypertonicity, the osmoreceptors which are present in the supraoptic nucleus, what will happen? It will then secretes, the supraoptic nucleus sends its nerve endings to the posterior pituitary and secretes the ADH hormone in the capillary bed of the posterior pituitary. This ADH hormone decreases the urinary water from the distal by absorbing more and more water from the distal convoluted tubule, and thus restores the normal body water. And that is how this mechanism is taking place in the hypothalamus for regulation of body water. So that finishes the functions of hypothalamus. There are certain applied aspects of hypothalamus which are very easy to understand, because it is like there is diabetes insipidus, that is one aspect. Cataplexy, narcolepsy are certain aspect of damage to an individual nuclei of hypothalamus, which is easy to understand, and it is a homework or assignment for you to read about them and understand how it is happening and what are the symptoms. This finishes the function of hypothalamus, and we'll see you in the next class.